on our list. Was that not submitted from the college?
Actually, I saw it in the board book. Let me pull up the board agenda. And
Is he part of, let's say, an HR report, a personnel report?
is that where the tenured faculty are?
Very well
Yes,
could be.
yes. He's not one of the full professors. He's would be on the HR report.
Yeah, so there's no reason for him to actively participate in the meeting. He can observe it. There's another person that just came in, that Reed person. I don't know. I don't know how these people are getting the code, the access code is.
Dan Reed is another faculty member at Norco College.
Yeah,
Let me look to see.
So
Somehow they have been given the access to join the meeting this way.
do we know how this is occurring, Monica?
Here we go. I have a feeling that it might have gone out by the Senate president. So let me look for that email and respond to everyone to connect via live stream.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Okay, no problem.
We'll deal.
Since we have a few minutes before the meeting, and I know that Susan Mills is online right now, could I ask Susan if she would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance when we get to that part of the agenda, please?
Sure, happy to.
Okay, thank you. Hola, Jose Alcala.
Hey, Jose.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Good, and you're back to your sporting flags again. You're so
Yeah.
cute.
Who is
You
it?
know, it was it's either that or the window, and I figured.
Oh no, that looks so great.
I saw your nice photos when you were a teenager, Jose.
Say, Jeannie,
Hi.
I just got removed from the meeting.
Oh, it's your phone number.
Yeah, because I've got 2 devices. Actually, I've got 3.
Okay, why don't you log back in and tell us what your phone number is? We'll watch for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we can hear you. You're not cut off. It's...
I
Yeah.
can
We
see.
can hear you. We can hear you, Bill.
I see you too, Bill. You're there.
Well, yes, but I want to be here so I can actually read. You are unable to join this meeting because you were previously removed by the host.
That's what happened to me before.
Oh,
Okay, let me log totally out and see if I can.
We're
No, don't log out.
we're taxing all those who have multiple devices when people
Yeah.
don't even have one.
We can hear and see you perfectly fine.
Well, I know, but I was trying, I'm on my phone, but I wanted to use my computer monitor to actually read the,
Oh.
I don't think it's gonna let me back in.
It's probably not.
Aw. It didn't let me back in afterwards, Bill.
I was gonna say, I have been removed.
Ortiz good, Madge is good, Jeannie Kim's good, Diana Torres, Jorge's the
Okay.
phone.
Hi,
well.
Tracy.
Who do you think is the phone? Oh, Bill, is your phone number 121?
No, 909.
That's me, Jeannie. Don't
936.
kick me off.
Bill, you're,
Yeah.
hang on, don't repeat your live stream. You don't want to do that. I don't know who that is.
Okay, Tracy, where do you get those interesting effects in the background?
I'll give you a tutorial later, Bill.
Oh, okay.
I like your background, Bill. It looks very nice.
Kramer is
It's-
Kramer. Dr. Green,
Yes, Jeannie?
is Amy Kramer one of your faculty?
Yes.
There we
I
go.
did send an email asking them to join via live stream if they want to be, witness the board meeting.
I'm 2 and 2, don't kick me off. Okay, that's her, that's me. Who's that phone number? Okay, I'm almost ready to start. Want me to, are you gonna share this agenda?
Okay, is everybody ready to go?
All set.
Okay. All right, then let's get this meeting started then. So this is the Board of Trustees regular meeting for Tuesday, April 21st, 2020. It is exactly 6:00 p.m. And we are holding this meeting via teleconference. And this is the official designation here. Pursuant to Governor Newsom's executive order N-2920 dated March 17, 2020, members of the Board of Trustees of the Riverside Community College District, staff, and the public will participate in the April 21st, 2020 meeting via teleconference. No in-person attendance will be accommodated or permitted. To avoid exposure to COVID-19, this meeting will be held via live streaming on RCC's YouTube channel. Should you wish to participate in public comments, you are asked to submit your comments electronically by emailing them, and submissions by email must be received prior to 4 p.m. the day of the meeting to be included. So at this time, is there any submissions that have been given in by 4 p.m. to the email system?
No, we don't have any.
All right. And that will take us then into the comments from the public. So having no comments from the public at this time.
Are we gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Oh,
Pledge of Allegiance.
thank you. Thank you, Ms. Blumenthal. In order to, the very first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. If I could please have Dr. Susan Mills lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Please stand and face. The flags are behind Dr. Esak's position.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
Flag
of the United States of America,
And to the republic
for which it stands,
It stands one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
Justice.
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now, thank you, moving on. So there are no comments from the public, which moves us to approval of the minutes. So item 2A, minutes of the Board of Trustee regular committee meeting of March 2nd, 2020. Could I have a motion?
Motion?
Mr.
Second.
Alcala moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Ms. Blumenthal seconds. Are there any corrections, changes, or adjustments? Hearing none. Now, all those in favor, and I'll have to do a roll call vote per designation of the video conferencing rules. So all those in favor, beginning with Ms. Blumenthal,
Aye.
Mr. Hedrick,
Aye.
Ms. Thacker,
Aye.
and Mr. Alcala moved. And I vote aye. So all in favor. Thank you. Item 2B, minutes of the Board of Trustees special meeting of March 14th, 2020. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
moved.
All right, Ms. Blumenthal moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Hedrick seconds. Are there any adjustments, corrections, and or hearing none? All those in favor, beginning with Ms. Blumenthal,
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Hedrick,
Aye.
Ms. Vakar,
Aye.
and Mr. Alcala,
Aye.
and myself, yes. Thank you very much. Now, moving on to 2C, the minutes of the Board of Trustees special meeting of March 17th, 2020. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Ms.
Second.
Vakar moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Alcala seconds. Are there any corrections and or adjustments to those meetings? Hearing none. All those in favor, beginning with Ms. Blumenthal,
Aye.
Ms. Vakar,
Aye.
Mr. Hedrick,
Aye.
Mr. Alcala,
Aye.
and myself, yes. Thank you very much. Item 2D, minutes of the Board of Trustees regular meeting of March 17th, 2020. I entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Ms. Vakar moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms.
Second.
Blumenthal seconds. Any corrections and or adjustments to those minutes? Hearing none. Roll call vote, Ms. Blumenthal,
Aye.
Mr. Alcala,
Aye.
Ms. Vakar,
Aye.
Mr. Hedrick,
Aye.
and I vote yes. All right, all of the minutes of the Board of Trustees previous meetings are now approved. And that moves us into a public hearing. There is no public hearing. And so the very next item is the Chancellor's report. Dr. Esock, it's all yours.
Thank you, Madam President. We are living under a very dark situation with entrapped with the coronavirus, and public health modelers have been showing us models in Riverside County that the peak would come towards the end of this month or the first week of May. And models are always as good as the assumptions that builds them. And with no protective measure, Riverside County was predicted to have a peak of 65,500 positive, with 11,000 hospitalized and 1,250 people dying. And the infection rate increasing, doubling every 4.7 days. The modeling also predicted that with one positive measure, such as washing your hands and keeping your hygiene clean, we would expect the peak to rise to 30,000 positive, 5,200 hospitalized, and about 600 deaths. That's almost cutting it in half, with doubling every 6.7 days. With two protective measures, that is including washing of hands as well as social distancing, the model predicted that the peak would have 19,000 positive cases, 3,200 hospitalized, and 360 deaths, with doubling occurring every 8.7 days. Lastly, with all the measures, all the three protective measures, with social distancing, with washing, and even face covering with a mask, the model predicted that we would peak at 13,000 cases with 2,200 hospitalized and about 250 deaths, with infection rate doubling every 10.7 days. Now, the very bleak picture, and fortunately for us, we have actually surprised the model. As of today, the county of Riverside has 2,960 positive cases with 93 deaths and 240 hospitalized. Much, much less than what was predicted. And Riverside City today has 477 positive cases with 16 deaths. Moreno Valley with 330 positive cases and 11 deaths, while Corona is 141 positive cases and only 4 deaths. The change in behavior and the strict adherence to the CDC guideline seems to be working very well. We will not see a peak, but rather the curve will be flattened, and authorities in Riverside County are so confident that as of yesterday, some of the regulations are being relaxing. So those who enjoy golfing are now allowed to go golfing, and coming this week, effective tomorrow, those who like going to tennis will also probably be allowed to go to tennis. So looking at the future with some hope, we have been trying to handle our scheduling with some creativity. So in building our summer schedule, although we have decided that all online courses that are offered online today will also continue to be offered online during the summer, we also recognize that we still have courses that have challenges because they have practicals, clinical skills, and other type of skills that are needed on face-to-face, such as nursing, especially the second semester and third semester nursing, the allied health, such as dental hygiene, dental assisting, and career technical educations, such as cosmetology, culinary, automotive, HVAC, welding, and manufacturing in Norco. So we feel very hopeful that if the situation progresses as it is doing now, we will go back to the county public health officer seeking waiver to conduct labs that accommodate appropriate social distancing, and hopefully we will run these programs face-to-face on campus while we continue to give the lectures online. And therefore the summer is being built to have an online and a hybrid, the hybrid being for those courses which will require a lab that will be given face-to-face and a lecture that will be online. As for the fall 2020 semester, although most community colleges in our region have also decided to continue with the online delivery, and we feel that probably that will be the dominant delivery mode, we have decided to wait a couple more weeks to see how the situation develops so that we can exploit the degree of online and hybrid combination that we may be able to adopt. From a survey of our 40,000 students, with over 4,000 students responding to the survey, we know that 60% prefer the face-to-face, and 16 to 18% have even said that they might consider dropping out from the online. And therefore, every effort is being made to enhance retention, reduce dropout rate, and increase provision of computer and access to the internet, increase student faculty and student staff engagement through increased tutoring, supplemental instruction, counseling, and advising. So all these support services are being enhanced with a goal to increase retention, to increase success, and also to achieve our commitment and goal to student equity. Our enrollment, unlike many districts that are experiencing very sharp decline, our enrollment has remained fairly steady because we have been growing by larger percentage than the growth level funded by the state in the past years. Even with a 2-3% decline in our current target, our P1 for RCCD is 16, we still have 1,600 unfunded FTS, 1,600 unfunded FTS. And therefore, we feel that for next year, we will focus more on regaining the small dip that we have experienced this year by maintaining the same target as we have this year. And thereby, we will still have a cushion of unfunded FTS also as we go to next year. Emergency financial aid from the Department of Education that needs to get to our student is of high priority. As was reported earlier, the district has been allocated a total of 18 million from the CARES Act, 50% of which is 9 million, must be provided to students as an emergency student financial assistance. A distribution task force has been established to define the principles and process by which this grant is to be disbursed, and that task force will be making its report later on, and it's on the agenda, so I will not take that. The other issue that we have been struggling with is accessibility. Because we have transitioned so many sections from face-to-face to online, and many of these sections have not been accessible to our disabled students, we put an enormous amount of effort to move this on. And I have reported earlier how many faculty mentors have been hired, but I'd like to say that we have made a lot of progress since I've reported last. So today, out of the thousands of files and sections that have been non-compliant, we have almost 80% of the courses have been brought up to standard. Lastly, in my report, just as I was walking into here, I just received a U.S. Department of Education email with great news. Secretary DeVos delivers $6 billion in additional grant funding to support continued education at America's colleges and universities. And this is in addition to the $6 million that we have, to the $6 billion that has already been disbursed. After quickly making available more than $6 billion for colleges and universities to provide direct emergency cash grants to students, the U.S. Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, announced today an additional $6.2 billion will be available to higher education institutions to ensure learning continues. And the CARES Act allows institutions to use up to 1/2 of the total fund received to cover any costs associated with significant changes to the delivery of instruction due to the coronavirus. The funding for these recipient institutional costs is separate from the funding previously made available for emergency financial grants to students. And so it goes to say that the same formula that was used to give us our first allocation is also going to be used to give this second allocation. And if we do get what we got the last time, that will be a huge relief for us in this period of need. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Dr. Isak. And so
Next, I think
you'll move us on to the next one?
Yeah, next we have the presentation for rank of professor for the academic year 2020. And I will invite Vice Chancellor Susan Mills to read the names of those professors that have been elevated to the rank of professor.
Thank you, Chancellor Isak. Board Policy 4000 academic rank provides for the granting of the rank of professor for full-time faculty who meet the criteria of years of service to the institution, education, exemplary service, and scholarship. After review by the Professional Growth and Sabbatical Leave Committee, District Academic Senate, college presidents, and district chancellor, 9 faculty are recommended to the Board of Trustees for the rank of professor for 2020. It is my distinct privilege to read the names of my colleagues who have earned this honor. A ceremony for recognition of the 2020 professors will be scheduled at a future suitable Board of Trustees meeting date. For Moreno Valley College, Sean Drake, Professor of Mathematics. Also Moreno Valley College, James Namakata, Professor of Mathematics. We have 7 for Riverside City College, Kimberly Anderson, Professor of Nursing. Thatcher Carter, Professor of English. Tanya Huff, Professor of Biology. William Kim, Professor of Art. Ernesto Reyes, Professor of Mathematics. Kathleen Sell, Professor of English. Mark Walpoff, Professor of Psychology. Many congratulations to our new professors. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security CARES Act information on this distribution plan that will be given by a member of the task force, Associate Vice Chancellor Jeannie Kim Han.
Good evening, everybody. So as you see on the screen, we have the information that the task force has actually put together. Next slide, please. So our district received a total of $9 million for the 50% distribution for emergency aid to the students, as well as $9 million for the institution to be able to utilize for response to the coronavirus and in relation to the emergency situation. The task force has been focused primarily on the distribution of emergency aid to the students and trying to get this funding out to them as quickly as possible. Next slide, please. The specifics that we were really trying to deal with was to make sure that we would actually be able to develop concrete recommendations per the guidelines from the U.S. Department of Education. These are coming through Title IV funding mechanisms and through the grants component. We have responsibilities to report back on exactly how these funds are being spent, what the criteria was to determine who received the funding, and the amounts that we are actually distributing. The key component here is to remember that this needed to be emergency aid to the students to enable them to respond to their own situations in relation to coronavirus and the effect that it had on their educational outcomes. Committee members are listed here, and they consisted of the vice presidents of student services, as well as representatives of the budget offices at the district level and the financial aid directors on the campuses. Next slide, please. Some of the considerations that we had to discuss were really in relation to who should actually receive this funding. The primary concern and the guidance that we were being given by both the State Chancellor's Office as well as by the U.S. Department of Ed was to really consider why and to whom we would want to deliver these funds to. And they were primarily to the most vulnerable populations. So we took guidance from what the State Chancellor's Office provided in focusing in on our vulnerable populations as identified and defined in the CCCO Vision for Success. And we also needed to take into consideration that for RCCD, we have a large number of students that are also DACA recipients or may not have stated citizenship status. So these are part of the conversations that this task force had to undertake. The guidance provided by Governor Newsom recently, last week, told us that we are not able to provide funding to DACA students or those students that are not identified as citizens of the United States or here with social security numbers, et cetera. That information, the latter part in relation to the criteria, was just issued today from the US Department of Education. So this is something that is the eligibility criteria for which students can actually receive this aid has been fluid. And we are finally receiving some definitive answers in relation to how to be able to distribute these funds or to whom we should distribute these funds. One of the key considerations about this grant money and all grant monies that are coming from the feds is that they can change the rules and regulations on us even after we have dispersed the funding. So we have been trying to be prudent and to look into the crystal ball to anticipate what the different issues might be. One of the key components was in terms of giving out this funding is that students' names would be released and their information would be released. And it could be released not just to the US Department of Ed, but all other cognizant US agencies that would request this information. And so these were all things that we had to consider as a part of the task force. Next slide, please. So the eligibility criteria has now changed as a result of some additional guidance that we received from the US Department of Education, again, just today. But the criteria that we put forth preliminarily from the task force are as you see on the slide. So the current enrollment in spring 2020 at the application or time of application for aid was one component that we felt was critical. We also needed for each student to have declared RCCD, one of RCCD's colleges as their home college of record. The students must also demonstrate COVID-19 related financial needs in relation to their educational outcomes. The residency component was one way that we had identified to determine whether or not the students were eligible in terms of the citizenship component and making sure that we were able to identify which students in anticipation of what the Department of Ed might actually require. Today, what we learned is that the students must also not have been exclusively online. So all students that were exclusively online to begin with are no longer eligible for this funding. And so that is one component that is to be added to the new eligibility. The second is that there was clarification on the citizenship component in the sense that the requirement is that all students who receive this funding must be FAFSA eligible. And so the FAFSA eligibility lists out citizenship or affirmative authority to be here in the US legally, and then also social security number and a few other components. And that requirement will now have to also be met in terms of who actually receives this funding. Next slide, please. So determining the need component, we had a lot of conversation as to how we should actually provide the funding in terms of what amount which would the students actually receive. So as you can see on the slide, we looked at a number of different components and we looked at trying to weigh out what we already knew about the students and also to figure out what their current need was as a result of the COVID-19 crisis. And so you can see that we were trying to identify a point scale that would help us to determine the most in need. And based on this point scale, those that received 22 or closest to the full 22 points would then be at the highest priority list for receiving funding. Next slide, please. So the distribution is slated to be across, again, the eligibility criteria first. Second piece is to tier the distribution with 3 levels, 500, 400, and 300. So again, providing the most amount of money to the highest need populations based on that point criteria that we just shared. And then being able to distribute the funds until everything was dispersed. And then provide any remaining dollars or any new dollars that might come in and reallocating them possibly to the top tier or based on some of the questions that were answered in the application process. The tiebreaker component, should there be students that fell with the same score of, let's say, 17 across the board, and we had already run out of funding, would be broken by the first come, first served rule. So those who had submitted their applications first would receive the priority in terms of being able to get access to the funding. Next slide, please. The timeline for this process we had suggested is to really look at securing the data and the record that we had available. So we have been working with our IT and our IE departments at district to be able to gain access to this information and to be able to develop a web-based application process and database that would help us to make these awards and the determinations as quickly as possible. So we have been working on that component. And the web-based application is slated to be built and completed by this Friday. We will be able to start the announcement process starting now through May 1st is what our original deadline was, but there has been, given these various different changes and also the opportunity to be able to provide more information to students, the task force was asked to extend the timeline and to consider extending the timeline by another week. And so that is a point of conversation at this point in time. But based on what our initial thinking was in terms of trying to get this funding out as quickly as possible, given the urgency of the situation, we were trying to distribute all applications by April 27th. So by Monday, it would go live and to close the application process by the following Friday. Because we are building the backend database with the rules that we've already identified based on the criteria, the determination of who would receive funding would be readily available as soon as the application actually closed. With that in mind, we would then be able to do a review. The financial aid offices would actually be able to review the lists that would be generated by the database. And then we would begin the actual awards the week of May 4th. That was the preliminary conversation. At this time, we have actually been looking at possibly extending the deadline to the following week so that the students would have 2 weeks of application time. That does actually run up against our financial aid regular disbursement process. So if we were to disperse funds, make decisions and disperse funds the week of May 11th, that would actually be in conflict with one of our biggest distributions for financial aid to our students. And so financial services offices have requested that we avoid that particular week, allow that to happen first, and then be able to move on with the emergency funding disbursement after that. So this funding would go out the following week. So those are the conditions that we are currently working under. And as stated already, it is a very fluid situation, and we are going to be as responsive for these funds as much as possible. Next slide. I think that's it.
That's it.
Questions?
Okay. Back to you, Trustee Figueroa, for input.
Yes. So are there any questions or comments from the board members?
Yes, I have one, Mary, if I may, President
Yes.
Figueroa.
Trustee
I
Blumenthal.
want to congratulate Dr. Kim on an incredible presentation. Whether she agrees or disagrees, she presented it in an extremely explanatory and professional manner, and kudos to her. And I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Blumenthal. Any other questions or comments? I do have one, just in general. How is it that we are getting the information out to the students about the availability of the application and the process?
So as a part of this process in determining the criteria, the chancellor and the vice chancellors actually met with the students to get their input even on what it is that we were discussing. The students also provided specific input on the tiered levels. So, and the vice presidents of student services have also been having conversations with their respective student leaders on every campus as well. So there have been continued conversations. We have enlisted their assistance. Each of the vice presidents have also been talking with the respective student newspapers. And so the conversations around the anticipation of these funds coming out have already begun. We are planning on sending this mechanism or the information out by putting a website together where students would be able to access the information readily, as well as sending it out through all of our social media outlets that we already have established. And we have been having those conversations also with VC Goldware's team. And such things are sort of in motion as we speak, but relatively on hold until we have the details. But those are the mechanisms that we have outlined thus far in terms of getting this information out to all of our students.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kim. And the reason that I asked that, and it's very specific, and at this point I want to ask, because I cannot tell whether or not our student trustee, Mr. Zavala, is online with us.
I am here.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't want to put you on the spot, but are there any questions or comments from you as far as the trustee aspect?
So I was going to bring it up during my report. We did meet, some students and myself did meet with Chancellor Isak and Vice Chancellor Brown. And they asked us for our input, how we think the distribution of the money should be sent out to our students. I do think that there should be another way to send it out to all the students, because even the students could only reach out to so many students. And if we could post or send out, emails or something of the sort as well, that would definitely help for sure.
Okay, so then the request or the input there is to expand the access to getting the information out to the students still.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I appreciate that, Mr. Zavala. And the reason that I bring it up is I was in on a webinar that CCLC had on Thursday for the statewide system, and the student trustee representative on that board basically brought up some of the comments of the fact that our students, in the process of having to go online and having to go to our teleconferencing meetings, are somewhat being left out in the communication and information pipeline. And so we want to be aware of that. And so I was very happy to hear Dr. Kim indicate that they had met with the students. But again, you, Mr. Zavala, are our student trustee, and we want to make sure that we tap into your input so that we know, is that enough of what's being done? And what you're indicating is that we probably could do more. So I'm going to ask that we consider some of Mr. Zavala's indication of expanding that access, given some of the challenges that we have right now with trying to get information out to our student population. I know that it's a massive effort, and I think that our staff has done phenomenal. However, we're not going to leave any stone unturned to make sure that we get all the information that we can out to the students, especially since we do have this available to them. So if we can take that into consideration, Dr. Isak, would appreciate it.
Absolutely. I may add that we have met twice. The first time there was an effort to meet with Trustee Zavala and the associate student presidents of each campus, and it did not materialize. So Trustee Zavala and I met, and we talked a lot about students feeling that their input was not taken in about the change or the cancellation of spring break. After I in detail explained that the people who gained by that cancellation are mainly the students, it was done for their benefit. I think Trustee Zavala appreciated that perspective, but he did note that if we had had a discussion earlier, it would have been easier for students to understand it. And so we recognize that the communication between the student leadership and the administration should be strengthened. So as a follow-up meeting, we met a second time where Trustee Zavala organized the meeting by having other student leaders from Riverside and possibly other campuses, where Vice Chancellor Aaron Brown and I met. And we did take all the input into consideration. We did explore some of the suggested ways of communicating. We already have with Vice Chancellor Goldware a mechanism of reaching out to students, both through our RAVES mechanism, alert system, but also through the email. The survey showed that most students felt that the email is the most effective way of reaching them. And we did talk about a suggested way for the student leadership to also campaign to get students to apply, because we didn't want the needy students, the most neediest one, to be left out because either they didn't get notice or they didn't have a device or whatever might be the problem. And so we are cooperating in that. And so I think that Trustee Zavala will correct me, but we did exchange that. I have his cell phone number, he has mine, so that we can actually increase the level of communication as the need arises.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So if we have no further comments on this item here, again, my congratulations on what we have available and how we have made the procedure and the progress in order to get that money and the distribution out to our students. Moving on, Dr. Isak.
Next is the healthcare update, and I will call on Diana Torres, the acting Vice Chancellor for HR.
Thank you, Chancellor Isak. At this time, we have 2 active claims that we're working to resolve. One claim, Keenan and Associates, is working directly with the district to resolve, and the other is pending the provider to submit the claim to the carrier for processing. And so that concludes the healthcare update. Thank you.
Okay, the future monthly committee agenda planner is simply there for information only. And that ends my report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Isak. Then moving on, since I have the next item is the student report. So we are back to Mr. Zavala.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. I have a report from Riverside City College where I received it a little later. I didn't put it on the board book. However, it does state that they have been setting up like food pantries by the tennis courts, where every Tuesday from 1 to 3 they're giving out food, little packets of meals. They are also still having events and managing online. I did want to bring up again the the CARES, the money that will be distributed to the students. It's unfortunate to hear that undocumented students, DACA students won't be receiving it. Considering we're a Hispanic serving institution. Also, how FAFSA isn't students that don't qualify for FAFSA will also not receive it. I know some students that don't qualify for FAFSA but still can't afford their books and other things along the line. Some students were confused over the excuse W, and there's word going around that there's a deadline and students don't know whether to wait to the end of the semester to drop the class or see if they can manage and wait throughout the rest of the semester. There is a student I spoke with, an international student who's concerned about how they're going to pay their tuition, how they're going to pay any other necessities, considering they are not allowed to work off campus and the campuses are closed at the moment. They did state to me that their main provider was family members here in the United States who are also out of a job, and that their family who is from Rwanda is also out of a job. So I just wanted to make sure to speak up for the international students who don't know what's happening at the moment, how they could get help. I know there's another international student whose parents were so worried about them that they just had them sent back home and completely dropped out of their classes, or at least managed to stay online if they could. But yeah, today's main concern was the students who can't get the 9 million, a portion of that 9 million, whether or not they qualify for it. And I think on the application, it should be clarified. I know it may not already be posted. I'm not exactly sure, but the qualifications to be a little clear. I don't know if I disappeared on the screen. I apologize, but
We can still hear you. Keep going.
okay. Well, yeah. So I did meet with Chancellor Isak and Vice Chancellor Brown over the task force, and I did give them my opinion. I know other students don't share the same opinion, that that some students should receive some help and some others, the neediest, should receive the most help. And I know I don't necessarily need the help, and I shouldn't receive anything at all, whether I qualify for FAFSA or not. I'd much rather the funds go to a homeless student, or veterans, anyone who's dire need. But I know there are students who don't agree with that, and I want to make sure to amplify their voice as well, that they do believe that all students should get a portion at least, and that's all I have to report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Zavala. Are there any questions or comments for the student trustee? All right, hearing none, we will move on to the consent agenda items. And the consent agenda items are items 6A through R. And within that realm, there are numerous significant activities within that. So I'm going to ask now first, is there any board member wishing to pull any particular item for further discussion? All right, hearing none, then I will move a motion to approve items 6A through R.
So
So
moved.
moved.
All right, I
Second.
will take Ms. Blumenthal as the motion mover. And is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Hedrick, thank you very much. And now, are there any
President Figueroa,
Yes, Ms. Vakar.
I apologize. I do want to pull item number 6N from that motion. I apologize for that.
Okay, so 6N, contracts, grants, contracts, and agreements.
Correct.
All right.
So I would like to amend it. We could
So
have
we
amended.
will.
So it'll be 6N and it'll be 6O. I got two items, I'm sorry.
6N and O?
Yep. Yes.
Oh, all right. So for the mover and the second to the motion, is that an acceptable amendment?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any other? Hearing none. So items 6A through R with the exception of N and O. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I need to take a roll call vote for this. So beginning with Mr. Alcala,
Aye.
Miss Blumenthal,
Aye.
Mr. Hedrick,
Aye.
and Ms. Vakar,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Thank you very much. And so those items are now approved. We will take the following individually. So item 6N as in Nora, Trustee Vakar.
Yeah, thank you. I just need to abstain due to a potential conflict of interest.
Okay.
Then I will move that we proceed on N, 6N.
Thank you. Ms. Blumenthal moves. Is there a second?
Second.
And Mr. Hedrick seconds on 6N. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor, and I will take a roll call vote again. Mr. Alcala,
Aye.
Ms. Blumenthal,
Aye.
Mr. Hedrick,
Aye.
Ms. Vakar.
I abstain due to work-related conflicts.
All right, and I approve. Thank you very much. And then now moving on to item 6O, grants, contracts, and agreements. Once again, Ms. Vakar.
I would be abstaining for the same reason, for potentially for work conflict abstention.
Okay, then I will move.
All right.
Then I will move it.
Thank you, Ms. Blumenthal moves. Is there a second?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hedrick. Any further questions or comments on that item? Hearing none, all those in favor, taking a roll call vote. Mr. Alcala,
Aye.
Ms. Blumenthal,
Aye.
Mr. Hedrick,
Aye.
Ms. Vakar,
Abstain due to possible conflict with work.
and I am in favor. So thank you very much. And that moves us on to the next items. The next two, 7A is for information, the capital program executive summary report. Any particular questions or comments on this item? Thank you. 7B, the monthly financial report for the month ending March 31st. Any particular questions or comments on this item? Thank you very much. Now moving on to board committee reports. There is only one board committee report, item 8A, teaching and learning, and this goes to Trustee Vakar.
Thank you very much, President Figueroa. So at our last meeting, we had a discussion and a presentation from Dr. Mills with regards to the proposed curricular changes. And I think I just want to ask Ms. Mills whether or not there's been any additional updates or changes based on the discussion.
There have been no additional updates.
Then with that, I would recommend that we approve this item for a vote.
All right, Ms. Vakar moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Blumenthal seconds. Questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor as a roll call vote. Trustee Alcala,
Aye.
Trustee Blumenthal,
Aye.
Trustee Hedrick,
Aye.
Trustee Vakar,
Aye.
and I approve also. Thank you very much, Trustee Vakar. Moving on to the administrative reports under vice chancellors. This is a resolution authorizing the chancellor or designate of the district to lay off and or reduce hours of the classified service. And this goes,
Yes.
It goes to Ms. Torres?
Yes, I can go ahead and speak on this. Thank you, President Figueroa. Before you tonight is a layoff and a reduction resolution for you to consider and approve. There are 9 positions being primarily effective by this resolution, 1 reduction at the district office, 1 layoff at Norco, and 6 layoffs and 1 reduction at RCC. As outlined in this resolution, the background investigator at the district office has been impacted by a lack of work. The position is primarily responsible for conducting background investigations on potential hires and for community service aid positions. In the 1920 fiscal year so far, only a total of 68 hours were spent in investigations for community service aid positions. There's also a supplemental instructional coordinator at Norco that is being impacted by the expiration in Title V funding. The Administrative Assistant 2 position at RCC is impacted by the Gateway to College program and their funding. The program is seeking to institutionalize the Administrative Assistant 2 position within their own organization, thereby taking the funding away from RCCD. We have 3 positions that are impacted in TRIO by 3 separate federal grants, the Classic, the Disability, and the Veterans Grant. Those positions that are impacted are the Grants Administrative Assistant and 2 Student Resource Specialists. We also have another Student Resource Specialist at RCC under the College Connection, and this is actually a funding that we receive from RCOE for the Foster Youth Coordinating Program. This is a year-to-year contract, and in February of 2020, the district received notification from RCOE that they will not be able to conduct the funding or continue the funding, for the 2021 year. We have 2 additional positions that we have worked with CSEA to identify and find new positions for back in 2019. And the approval of this resolution will enable the elected representative to effectively negotiate the impacts of the transfer in lieu of the layoff that occurred back in 2019 for both the community education clerk and the assessment specialist. The district and CSEA since January have been working together to identify and analyze the bumping sequence and reemployment options in accordance with California Education Code. Your approval of the resolution will allow the district and CSEA to negotiate additional impacts of the layoff for employees, as well as officially provide the impacted employees with their 60-day layoff notification mandated by California Education Code. Dr. Green, Dr. Anderson, and myself can answer any questions you have in terms of the layoff process and specific questions about the programs and funding. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Torres. Are there any questions and or comments from the board members?
I have one.
Mr. Hedrick.
So I understand that if we take this action, then CSEA is able to negotiate the impact. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Do you have any guess on the number of positions that we are likely to be able to absorb in some other capacity? Or are these folks just going to be flat out of work?
We have currently, with the number of vacancies that we have the potential to, again, negotiate with CSEA in terms of their effectively moving forward their reemployment rights and potentially place these individuals in actual positions. And this is something, again, that we would have to negotiate with CSEA, as these individuals have never held the positions, but the number of vacancies that we have currently and the individuals that are currently being impacted who most likely meet minimum qualifications for some of these vacancies may be able to be placed into these positions.
Okay, great. I appreciate it.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, then I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Hedrick moves and Mr. Alcala seconds. Any further questions and or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, and I will take a roll call vote. Mr. Alcala,
Aye.
Ms. Blumenthal, hello, Ms. Blumenthal? She might have gone off.
She's
No,
muted.
sorry, I had it on mute. I apologize. Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Hedrick,
Aye.
Ms. Bakar,
Aye.
and I am also in approval. So it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on to the president's report.
Excuse me, Trustee
The
Figueroa.
other vice chancellors may have a report.
Oh, I have another vice chancellor? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, the other vice chancellor, that was only one vice chancellor.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I stand corrected. Are the other vice chancellors, Vice Chancellor Brown?
Yes, thank you, Trustee Figueroa. A couple of points. I would like to identify that the Board of Trustees just approved the retirement of Sue Pagano, a payroll technician, and recognize her for outstanding service to the Riverside Community College District for the past almost 31 years.
Wow.
Sue is one of those steady as a rock people who goes quietly about her job every single day, providing consistent and accurate and exemplary service to our employees day in and day out, year after year. Her retirement will leave a huge hole in our operation, but her legacy of dedicated service will be an example that we strive for continually. She has touched many, many lives in the RCCD family over the years, and she will truly be missed. Not only is she exceedingly competent at what she does, she's the keeper of our institutional knowledge, and she's just a downright nice person. So we wish her all the best. The second item is not the least of which is the last item that I was going to talk about is later in the agenda, the Board of Trustees will recognize the outstanding work of our faculty, staff, and administration in dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic impact on our institution. I just wanted to briefly put a little context into what that means for the business and financial services area, with the understanding that the entire institution has made their own outstanding contributions in this effort. Within a couple of very short weeks, all business operations were successfully transitioned from on-site processing to remote processing without an interruption in our service that we provide. And what this means is that we were able to continue to make payroll for all of our employees, including student employees. We were able to continue to pay vendors to keep our operations going. We were able to make vital financial aid disbursements to students. We were able to continue to make essential purchases and maintain budgetary controls, continue with critical facility project bids, issue and accept requests for proposals, file necessary and required reports, refund student parking fees, participate in the process you just heard about emergency aid to students, provide training to employees on how to work from home, and maintain and monitor the safety of our employees and students through our risk department, maintain the safety of our remaining on-site employees and our facilities through police, and so on and so on. We were able to take our entire operation located in the familiar environs of our district office with all the necessary technology and tools at our fingertips and successfully transition to a home environment to perform those same functions, all in the interest of keeping operations running uninterrupted and all the while keeping the safety of our people as a paramount importance. While dealing with all the family issues that come from working with home. In closing, I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart. I couldn't be prouder.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. Appreciate that report. Vice Chancellor Mills.
Thank you, President Figueroa. I would like to report on the district office's second partnership resource team visit that was held virtually yesterday morning. The PRT team presented a menu of options for the 3 parts of the project. First part, establishing a district-wide data storage and reporting system. Second part, evaluating and purchasing an enterprise platform to generate and publish interactive data dashboards. And part 3, developing effective data coaches. Based on feedback from the PRT team, an RCCD writing team will be developing a detailed project plan that will be vetted with the District Academic Senate and Strategic Planning Council. The submitted project plan will detail how the $200,000 in funding will be utilized to accomplish the project goals. Secondly, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank the entire Educational Services and Strategic Planning staff for their innumerable contributions during this emergency situation. Beginning with the work of the AVC of Ed Services, along with Ed Services, Risk Management, and Strategic Communications staff to ensure the safe and speedy return from Barcelona of the district's study abroad students and faculty. Distance Ed did an extraordinary job in facilitating the transition to online learning by March 23rd. Special commendations go to the Dean of Distance Education and all 6 distance education staff members for their tireless efforts for a successful transition and their continued work in the area of accessibility. Thanks to the entire Information Technology and Learning Systems team for all their hard work in transitioning to remote online access, which included supporting faculty and staff by providing technical expertise to ensure continuance of service to students, deploying a secure remote access solution in a remarkably quick period of time, along with providing data and support for class schedules and student registration. My utmost gratitude goes to all of the educational services managers and staff and our district-wide colleagues with whom we collaborate to facilitate the continued work of student services, learning support, student educational planning, curriculum, catalog, schedules of classes, adult and non-credit education, the Foster Youth Support Network, student surveys, data collection, enrollment management, state reporting, professional growth and sabbatical leave activities, and myriad strategic planning decisions and activities, including AB 705 and guided pathways work. Thank you all.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Mills. Appreciate that report also. And now moving on to Vice Chancellor Goldware.
Good evening. I'm hopeful that you can all hear me this evening. I would echo the comments shared by Vice Chancellor Brown and Mills, my appreciation to the entire work of all of the staff. I would like to call out specifically the work of the advancement team. You heard from Dr. Kim this evening. The work of the grants and economic development team does not stop. In addition to the work being performed on CARES, the economic development group has also created a one-stop location within the economic development website. It is available on the generic COVID RCCD website for an easy direction so that small business and really any kind of business have a central repository locally for resources. So my appreciation to economic development for getting that up. GoBiz continues to have information. We make sure that information is available. Coming soon will be information about FEMA and reimbursements. Again, the grants office is working diligently on that. As information becomes available from Department of Education, NSF, and others, we continue to follow those activities. Director of Government Relations, Melissa Yeager, has been following a variety of things, both at the state and federal level. Dr. Isak talked about a few of those today, both from the state and from Department of Ed with Secretary DeVos. Marisa is actively engaged. Haku is happening this week virtually, and she is participating. Tomorrow, she will be in a conversation with Takano's office, Calvert, Feinstein, and Harris, trying to continue to promote things. As Trustee Zavala said, some of our students like DACA are not eligible for various funding sources, and finding resources for them continues to be important, and we continue to advocate on those issues. At the state level, the Senate and Assembly budget oversight committees have met. There continues to be a lot of work there. We continue to follow that, and I will continue to provide updates. There is a town hall tomorrow. I would encourage people to participate. Those weekly conversations from the State Chancellor's Office have been informational. I would also like to provide a brief update on, from the foundation. The board of directors met in March and provided resources via the Century Circle funding that is raised that is board designated for funding to support students, and those resources continue to be available. The foundation immediately put out a solicitation to support food resources, and within 48 hours raised about $5,000. Those efforts continue. And the foundation's annual scholarship process, which will provide about $500,000 in scholarships, does not stop. That work continues. We anticipate bringing those forward for the scholarship review process through the foundation soon. That's all I have for you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Goldware. And now moving on to the president's reports. President Steinbeck.
Thank you, Board President Figueroa, esteemed members of the board, and Chancellor Isak, and all of my colleagues. I think that the theme you're hearing this evening is one of gratitude. Riverside Community College District truly is a special place to work and to learn. This transition has been to online environment and distant remote delivery and remote working has been nothing short of remarkable. It was 5 short weeks ago when majority of our employees were departing campus. What I'm struck by in Riverside Community College District, and my college is no different than Riverside City or Norco, is that our employees rise to the occasion. They're not afraid of challenges, they're creative, they're generous with their expertise, and they want to ensure that not only are our students safe and our employees safe, but that we do everything we can to support our students in their educational journeys. And those, in fact, are the 2 principles that our chancellor brought us all together under 5 short weeks ago, and said that we would do 2 things. We do many things, but the principles that would guide us would be the safety of our employees and our students, and secondly, to optimize the educational journeys of our students. Our faculty have risen to the occasion. At Moreno Valley College, we transitioned over 600 sections to distance ed, but we did more than that. We transitioned all academic support services and all student services, support services, including mental health services. We didn't lose one appointment with students that had scheduled support in our psychological and physical health services area. The only support services that we have provided face-to-face briefly was when we distributed laptops to our students, but regularly every week with food distribution in our food bank. I have spent 4 decades in the California Community College system. I've always known that Riverside Community College District was a special place, but I have never been prouder to call this my home than I have been in the last 5 weeks. As you heard from the Vice Chancellors and Chancellor Isak, we continue to plan ahead. In addition to this transition and supporting our students and our employees, we have commencement in 7 short weeks. We have surveyed our students, and while a majority of our students said they would like to postpone commencement because they wanted to walk across the stage, we recognize that our students value commencement, and so we'll be offering them we're planning for 2 options. One is a virtual commencement on June 12, and the other is the option for the students to participate in the in-person exercise in June of 21. We have been conducting interviews by way of Zoom, which seems a little strange to hire faculty and other employees over a digital connection, but it's been remarkably interesting. I want to thank you for approving the appointment of Christopher Sweeten as the Vice President of Student Services. I say it's remarkably interesting because we ordinarily would want to show off our college and our district to new employees. We're looking forward to the 9 faculty that we will recruit before the end of the term, and to other employees as well who will join us. I thank my colleagues at district. I thank my colleagues in Riverside City College and Norco College. I think that this pandemic has brought us together in ways that we hadn't before. I know that our college will be stronger. It is already stronger. Our district will be as well. And I thank you all for your leadership as well.
Thank you, Dr. Steinbeck, for that very inspirational report. Much appreciated. Moving on, Norco College, Dr. Green.
Thank you, Dr. Steinbeck, too. You know, it's just truly moving to see how our district has responded to the crisis and how it's really brought us together. Speaking from Norco College, our executive team enacted the Emergency Command Center that first week of the crisis, and the amount of work that our employees did on the back end, and our managers and faculty in getting ready for the transition online. During that first week, we collected all the laptops around campus, and even those that have been distributed to external sites through our dual enrollment. And we were able to secure 278 student laptops that our amazing team and TSS and IMC reimaged, and able to secure 170 faculty and staff laptops that were reimaged and distributed. And that's just a slight glimpse of all the work that went on to get us to where we are. And I like Dr. Steinbeck, I can't begin to tell you how grateful I am to be a part and a member of the Riverside Community College District team. That first week, we came together, and there were task force that were organized, and it's really helped us to stay on track and really work through some really complex issues, and not have not skip a beat. We at the college, we committed to regular communication. We felt it was extremely important, and there for a while we had daily communication that went out, and now it's a couple of times a week, and holding office hours via Zoom, and had faculty interviews today via Zoom. And it's just amazing to see how, as a larger community, we've come together and really embrace the electronic resources. They may not always be the most preferred, but we are making it work, and we continue to thrive. All of our services have gone online, and just to give you an idea of some quick facts, on the Norco College webpage, when you go online, there's a live chat, and over the last few weeks, since March 16th, we've had through last week over 3,285 chats. Those are our live chats on the website that our staff are fielding, and ensuring that students are getting the hardware, the services, the technical support that they need. When we converted to online, our counselors were ready to go, and online counseling commenced, and we've had 725 appointments, and we've been able to, over the last few weeks, distribute the grab and go bags for students. We have since run out of supplies, but have partnered with Settlement House in Corona that continue to provide food bags for our students once a week, and bread daily. And I just so thankful to the community for their support, and also to Rebecca's team, who have really helped to ensure that we help to address the needs of our our neediest students, our students who are homeless and have food insecurities. So thank you. I'm pleased to announce too that all of our 224 Umoja students remain enrolled. A whole program of Umoja students that have stayed enrolled and engaged during this time. So it's really, it's brought our communities together in ways that we just I couldn't have conceived weeks ago. We continue to move forward. So we recently enacted Mustang of the Month to honor an employee. And so our first nominee, awardee, is Dr. Gail Swart. And in the words of her nominator, Dr. Swart is awesome. She's a great communicator who is transparent in planning and teaching. And she's just really been a pillar of Norco College and Riverside Community College District for 32 years and has served in many leadership roles. So can't begin to thank her enough for her contribution. We are planning with our district foundation office for an alternative to Dinner with the President, a major fundraiser for our colleges. And so we're planning on moving forward with a giving week, the week of October 12th through the 16th. So we're working closely with the foundation to plan that, and us, like Moreno Valley and Riverside City, we surveyed our students on commencement options, and we had about a 50-50 desire for virtual commencement, and the other 50% wanted to join the commencement graduating class of 2021. So we are doing both, and so we anticipate launching the virtual commencement as planned on June 12th at, I think, 2:30 p.m. And so we look forward to honoring our student graduates in numerous ways, numerous and different ways this year. I mentioned communication is really important, and so I want to thank our teams for making sure that we get information out electronically in a regular and frequent format. And so recognizing student services is now issuing a newsletter online to help students find information in one location. And each issue includes updates on programs and services. For our website, many thanks to our strategic development office who have helped to establish, enhance our website to connect students with services and counseling, instructional support, online tutoring, and more, including resources for faculty online and employee line. And so we've seen a real boost in our online visits to the website, and almost 100,000 in the last few weeks. So I also want to assure the board that we are moving forward with the UCR Norco College Pathways Transfer Agreement. So we had to cancel the signing because of the social distancing requirements, but it's to move forward in this next year. So we are proving to be resilient and continue to thrive together under these circumstances and plan for the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Green, for that report. And our congratulations to Dr. Schwartz on the Mustang of the Month. And I'm really inspired by the fact that the Umoja students are together. And that's very, very good. Thank you so much. And now moving on to Riverside City College, Dr. Anderson.
Thank you, Board President Figueroa. I much appreciate this opportunity to address you, as well as your fellow trustees, Dr. Isak, and the other members present of our community. I will try to keep my message short, try not to be redundant with the previous ones, but I do need to echo with all my will, the gratitude that's been expressed by Chancellor Isak, by the Vice Chancellors, and by my colleague presidents. I am indeed grateful for the work of our faculty. I'll start, of course, with the faculty leadership, our CTA leadership, our academic senate leadership, who keep me informed, keep me and the rest of the administration clear on the needs of their faculty colleagues, and attend to the needs of our students and keep the administration attentive to the needs of our students. So we couldn't do anything without that collaboration with the leadership of the CTA and the leadership of the Academic Senate. Similarly, the leadership of the staff as they continue to keep us informed, and the CSEA leadership. In fact, in my most recent video message, gratitude was the theme. My presentations this week to the Academic Senate and to the Associated Students of RCC was the same. Gratitude for courage, for fortitude, and a commitment to excellence that Dr. Isak demands of us every single morning at 8 a.m. That gratitude is shared by the students, hundreds of whom come to me in my open office hours, by text, by email, to compliment their professors. In fact, they insist that I get back to their professors, their staff, and their managers, and share the gratitude that they have. In addition to many of the activities, such as the Hungry Tigers food distribution, where managers have handed out nearly 1,500 grab and go bags in the past month, the technology distribution with the phones, the laptops, the hotspots, things like that. I do want to call out some of the achievements of our students who are led by our faculty, because this sort of excellence continues during this time of crisis. And I think we can seek solace and inspiration from our students. So most recently, many of you have already heard that our journalism students received 6 awards from the Association, the Journalism Association of Community Colleges. Viewpoints itself received 2 General Excellence Awards. Those are the 36th one a year. Congratulations to the professors who lead Viewpoints. Another one is that RCC alum David Sanchez's film. It's an animated short film. It was selected through a jury for the 2020 Riverside International Film Festival. The debut will be tomorrow. The RCC Chamber Singers was only one of 15 universities selected from hundreds to perform at the 2020 American Choral Directors Association, and they were able to perform as well. The Model United Nations team continues to achieve excellence. They submitted their entries online and they won the highest award in position papers in the General Assembly Committee and the Human Rights Council. They represented a certain East African nation named Eritrea. Professors throughout the crisis have been innovative, committed, and courageous. I could spend the rest of the evening talking about examples, but one example, a group of examples actually comes from the Coyle School of Music, where creativity has led to amazing online performances, multiple classes from multiple genres. I'm sure many of you have had a chance to view some of those. I've been blown away. There is talk, and Professor Mays may be able to get something from the symphony orchestra, that would be amazing as well. The technology survey had nearly 2,500 students respond. And what I heard today in my office hours from our students is that they're grateful that the college continues to hear their voices. Every single need identified has been addressed. It doesn't mean that we've solved every problem, but what it means is every student who's had a specific need has received a reply. We're quantifying those results in a newsletter, and then we're assessing what we are doing to improve as we continue through the crisis. Thank you to the staff, the faculty counselors, the faculty librarians, and everybody else who's providing that quick and responsive support in counseling, academic support, and the rest of student services. Finally, thank you for last month's approval of, and this month's approval of 2 new interim academic administrators. Thea Quigley joins us from the district office, and Professor Sherry Yates joins us from the faculty ranks. Her leadership experience includes department chair and positions in Riverside's Community College District's Faculty Association. Thank you to the Board of Trustees for your leadership on behalf of everybody at RCC.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anderson. It's always good hearing from Riverside City College. And thank you to Moreno Valley and NERCO for all the president's reports. You all are doing an amazing job. And we can't tell you enough how much we appreciate that. Moving on to the Academic Senate reports. The very first, Moreno Valley College.
Thank you. So like many others here tonight, I'd like to start by saying that I'm really proud of the collegial consultation that's occurring at MVC in the district during this time. Faculty, staff, and administration have been working together to implement the needed accommodations and changes that our students need. And all of this on top of our regular day-to-day responsibilities like instruction, learning how to do that online. At Moreno Valley, as President Steinbach announced at the last board meeting, we're part of the GP20 and have a meeting tomorrow, and have had many meetings even since we've gone online to work toward implementation of guided pathways. All of this on top of all of these new changes that are needed at our colleges. So these collaborative efforts just come from the tireless work ethic of so many people. And I also want to share my appreciation for that. I also want to address the incredible work of my Senate President colleagues at Norco and Riverside. We've been meeting a lot lately, and it's been a really collaborative and enjoyable process, and it's critical during these times. So I want to thank them especially. And I'm just really proud to work for Moreno Valley College and for this district. So the Moreno Valley Senate met on April 6th and discussed the options for summer. We gave faculty feedback to both the college and the district. The faculty were really appreciative to have been provided the opportunity to have their expertise called upon in how we might move forward in the summer term. We also, the chairs were eager and wanted an emergency meeting to hear what was going on, and the attendance and participation in these meetings have been incredible, not just by the faculty, but by the deans and the vice president of academic affairs of our college. So the student earnestness that stayed at the forefront of these conversations have been impressive. And we're pleased that the college and district leadership took the faculty feedback into account in these decisions made for the summer schedule. And then we had another meeting yesterday. At this meeting, we had an in-depth discussion about the emergency withdrawal and pass no pass options that are available to students in a different way this semester. Again, the discussion was focused on what was best for our students during this difficult time. And I want to express my appreciation for my Senate colleagues again, because we had discussions together as well, and Vice Chancellor Mills. We also have some in-house stuff that we're working on. We're updating our constitution and bylaws. We're reviewing the integrated strategic plan. We've started the discussions about the DE addendum for summer, obviously with the curriculum committee as well, but Senate is being kept in the loop and faculty are aware of what's going on. So there's no surprises about that big work that's ahead of us very, very soon. I'll leave it at that tonight, but we're very busy and I'm just really proud to work for this district for all the reasons that have been stated already tonight. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Norco College.
Thank you, President Figueroa. Thank you, Jennifer Florkey. I echo your sentiments. I have to say, the last several weeks, I really enjoyed the collaboration between the 3 Senate presidents and our senates at the 3 colleges. In our Senate at Norco College, I want to recognize our Distance Education Committee and the leadership of Michael Bobo, who's Assistant Professor of Humanities. We just approved our DE handbook, which was a tremendous effort. And Michael Bobo provided great leadership with that project. As Jennifer mentioned, we have spent quite a bit of time looking at the emergency withdraw and the pass no pass option for students. And we wanted to make sure we were student-centered and reflective on the needs of students. And I'll let Dr. Selleck highlight the progress that we've made with that. But in our Senate, we also made sure to hear from our students. We've had 2 reports recently from the Associated Students of Norco College. And I have to say, I was very humbled to hear about the stories, particularly of students who in the midst of trying to pursue their education are taking whatever extra jobs they can get to contribute to their family's income and helping to keep their family, let alone just themselves, afloat during this difficult time. So I think that the faculty is very much aware of this, and we're keeping the students' needs in mind, and as we continue to be flexible with our distance education. Some other things that the Norco Senate is looking at is continuing to examine our strategic planning structure. We're hoping to make some positive revisions in that structure throughout the rest of this semester and into fall. We are moving ahead with our faculty speaker selection for commencement. You heard mention of the virtual commencements that we're planning. We're also planning to recognize the faculty who are retiring this year from Norco College. As you might know, just prior to commencement each year, the faculty get together, and that's a time to really reflect on the year and celebrate the achievements of our faculty, our department chairs, the faculty who receive tenure, and the faculty who are retiring. So we're planning to honor those faculty, even though we can't do it in person. Let's see. Most of our committees and councils have resumed their regular meetings, so that's been great to see. So we're about as normal at this point as we can be, considering we're not meeting in person, but the faculty hiring committees have commenced, and that work is going on. And so everything is humming along, and we're really working at full capacity. And that's my report for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And moving on to Riverside City College and the district, Dr. Selleck.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, President Figueroa, colleagues. It's good to see all of you. Let me begin by echoing the sentiments that so many people in this meeting have offered about the collegiality that we've seen with faculty leadership groups, with faculty, with administrators, with our students, with our staff. I could not, as many people have already said before me, be prouder to be part of this district and a member of this community. I think that the 3 resolutions that the board has before it in section 12 of tonight's agenda are wholly warranted to recognize the many stakeholders who have risen to the occasion during these very difficult times. So kudos to everybody. Especially I want to give my thanks to my colleagues at Norco College and Moreno Valley College, Dr. Bemiller and Professor Flurke, for the work that they've been doing with me, for the Faculty Association, Dr. Hagehat and Dr. Taube, who have been working to make sure that the messaging from faculty leadership groups is consistent, concise, and always on point. To President Anderson, who I've been talking to probably more than he really would prefer about a number of things that have come to my attention, and of course to Chancellor Isak for all of the work that he's been doing just tirelessly to keep this district afloat. So having said all of that, let me get into some of the things that we've been doing in the Senates. In our last Senate meeting at the district level on the 30th of March, our primary focus was to deal with the DE issues that we had to face for the rollout of our online classes. And all credit needs to be given to all of the folks who are working in distance education, beginning with Dean Sheila Pisa, who has tried to keep everybody abreast of anything that they might need to be successful in the online environment. We had a lot of discussions that hopefully helped our colleagues, particularly in STEM and in CTE, who needed the assistance, because this is not an environment with which they usually work. So I very much thank my colleagues for that conversation that we had. And that was the primary focus of that meeting. In terms of my local Senate, we've had a couple of things. We've been looking at how we need to help our students, not only in terms of, as President Miller pointed out, the EW grades and pass not pass, because the State Chancellor's Office has waived the typical expectations for those two grade options, and the recommendation of the Senate President and Vice Chancellor Mills has been sent to Chancellor Isak, and I'm sure he will provide us with his thoughts on our recommendation at his earliest convenience. We also, in the wake of all of this, as my colleagues on the other campuses have been doing, is the work of the college. So one of the things that's an amazing accomplishment for Riverside City College is that we managed to pass our 20 to 25 strategic plan yesterday in our RCC Academic Senate meeting. All credit goes to Professor Kathleen Sell, who is the chair of our Educational Planning Oversight Committee, and Vice President Christine Memo, who have been working so hard on this. We've had, my colleague, Professor Monique Green, who has been keeping up on all of the guided pathways initiatives that need to be considered. So much work has been done, and I could be here all night, and I don't want to take up too much time. But one thing I should say before I leave is I should acknowledge the many colleagues of mine that were given full professorship and also announced their retirement. So I'd like to take a minute and acknowledge Professors Kimberly Anderson, Thatcher Carter, Tanya Huff, Will Kim, Ernesto Reyes, Kathleen Sell, and Mark Wolpoff. I'll make sure that I notify all of them that their full professorship is going through, and that we will be recognizing them more formally at a later date. I would also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge my colleagues who are retiring, many of whom I have shared close quarters with. Nancy Gall and Ivan Gutierrez, back when we were down in Lovekin before the quad was open, were hallmates of mine, if you will, in one of the portable buildings. And I had amazing conversations with both Nancy and Yvonne about a number of things. They are stalwart pillars of this institution and need to be recognized. Stephen Kennedy, who works in automotive, a dear friend of mine who has undergone quite a lot in the last few years in his personal life, but has always been there for his students to make certain that they're able to get certification and go out in the work world. His work ethic is going to be greatly missed. My own colleague and friend in political science, Dr. Ward Schenke, is also retiring. And everybody, I'm seeing President Figueroa nodding. She knows how important Ward has been for this institution and for me personally, in many times that I have needed his counsel. And finally, Professor Debbie Whitaker, who has held so many different positions at City College as dean, as associate dean, as professor, who has been a tireless supporter of the early childhood education program and has done great work on the academic senate. So I needed to make certain that I gave proper acknowledgement to all of my faculty colleagues. So thank you for indulging me, and that ends my report.
Thank you, Dr. Selleck, and thank you for taking that opportunity to recognize those individuals. That is definitely worthwhile. They are basically who we are as a district, and we have to thank them all for their commitment and for their years of service to us. So thank you very much for doing that. Moving on to the bargaining units, the CTA.
All right, thank you, President Figueroa, and good evening, trustees and chancellor and colleagues. I don't want to sound like a broken record. Everybody has already talked about how amazing it is to see our district band together, and I certainly have been in awe of all of my colleagues, of the students, of staff, of the administration, and the dedication and commitment to making sure that this district stays on point is just, it makes me so proud to be here and to be part of this great institution and to be under the leadership and the helm of our amazing chancellor, who is holding all of this together and steering this ship. So on that note, I'd also like to follow up with what Dr. Selleck said and send a hearty congratulations to all of our colleagues who made the rank of full professor this evening. And I'm so happy for everyone and look forward to a proper celebration for the retirements and the rank changes for all of our colleagues. The Faculty Association has also been continuing to work and to meet and dealing with a number of different issues. And we have been working right now on an MOU that we were just voting on and discussing today on faculty evaluations for full-time and part-time faculty. Their emergency MOU said that our evaluations would be suspended. And so we're trying to discern exactly what that would look like. So we approved today a modified MOU that we'll be presenting to the district to negotiate. We've also been hearing a number of different concerns from our colleagues about privacy concerns in distance ed. And so Vice Chancellor Blackmore was kind enough to come to our executive board meeting last week and to assuage a lot of these concerns about that. We still are planning on putting out a statement to our colleagues to let them know about privacy issues relating to teaching online and also to our correspondence. And so that's something that we're working on as well. We also have our election coming up. Our officers for the district are all up for re-election, and then all of the vice presidents, one from each college. So we're accepting nominations now through April 27th, I believe. And we also, as Chancellor Isak had talked about ADA compliance, we worked on an MOU for faculty to receive compensation for mentoring other faculty in ADA compliance. And we've also really been pushing the colleges to create some type of institutional support for this, because like Chancellor Isak, we don't want to lose any of our students. And we want to ensure that all of our students have access to our classes and accessibility. And we're hearing from a lot of faculty concerns about the workload issue with adjusting their courses and running the Ally program and making what other types of modifications they need to do. So what, faculty did the heavy lifting of taking their classes that were face-to-face and turning them into online in the emergency situation, then get told, oh wait, but you didn't do it properly for all of our students to access your course. But they found it very frustrating. So what we need moving forward is a definite plan, an institutional plan that allows faculty to get the proper training and then also creates staff positions that provide instructional support for those faculty, so we don't run into this problem again in the future with our courses that stay online. So it's something that we really want to see and have that in place moving forward so that we stay ADA compliant from this point forward, that it's not a project that we just do because we're in an emergency, but that we provide the support for all our faculty so that we faculty can then make sure that our courses are proper for our students, because really at the end of the day, it's about not losing any of our vulnerable students. And so that is, I believe, it for the Faculty Association report. Thank you. And again, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Moving on to CSEA, Mr. Segura.
Good evening, President Figueroa, Dr. Isak, board members, and all those present here. First, I just want to say that I continue to pray for a lot of our staff and our administrators and faculty during this time, because
I think we lost you.
I think he's froze.
Okay, have we lost the feed on Mr. Segura?
People in IMC we lost on.
He's locked up, so he's having a network issue.
He was there a minute ago, but
yeah, he's having an
I guess something happened. We're having a technical difficulty for the first time in this whole meeting, so that's actually pretty good. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and move on. If he comes
And he's
back
a
on.
technical person.
Yes, he's a technical person too.
Yeah.
He's always kept us online. All right, well, we'll go ahead and move on to the business from board members. And if Mr. Segura comes back on, then I'll just interject him into that.
yeah, I just made it back.
Oh, there he is. Thank you very much.
I don't know what happened. It just crashed on me. So once again, I just want to say thank you and welcome. We did have, just want to share with the board that CSEA is conducting weekly meetings as we move forward with this closure. We've been meeting weekly. We've had anywhere between 180 to about 230 employees show up on these Friday afternoon Zoom meetings, which is a lot of people. During these meetings, we get a lot of questions, a lot of concerns of what's going on. So we're trying to address those as we go through them. So once a week, we try to bring up updates of what we're receiving from the district, the colleges, and bringing them back to our employees. So I believe that's very helpful for them, because a lot of them are sitting at home. We have 3 groups that we work with. Some group 1 are those that are employees that we call essential employees, which are all employees, but these are the ones that are reporting to campus. We got about 65 employees reporting to campus per week. The second group are the group 2, which we have designated as those that are working remotely. And the third group is those that are on standby. So we've got quite a few employees out there working at home and with the challenges that come with it. I know we've also had Dr. Isak join us one Friday afternoon and spoke to our staff. So that was very helpful for them to hear from our leader. Also wanted to share with you during this this time, been working with our members at large to develop workshops and trainings. So this week, for the next few weeks, we're focusing on wellness workshops for some of our staff. So whether they're dealing with things going in their family, with their children, we've sent out a flyer out so that they can link on to our employees assistance program to gather information on that. We've also provided some other information from the state chancellor's office so that they get the training that they need. And that's been really good for all these employees once a week. They want to continue once a week, so we're trying to make those happen between 12:30 and 1:30 on Friday afternoons. And I know there's been a lot of thanks to a lot of our staff who've been out there, and I truly want to give some thanks because these are the people I work with. So, really want to thank our facilities and grounds and custodians because they've been on the forefront. A lot of our custodians were out there disinfecting a lot of our buildings when this first happened, and they continue to do so. Our college police has been nonstop. They're out there 24/7, and they're always protecting our areas. So I want to really thank them for doing all that. IT, information technology, has just been on the forefront. They've been, all these laptops we hear, these been setting them all up, making them ready for our students and our faculty and our staff to be using. So a big hand of applause in our network and our programmers for all that. As Aaron Brown said, our budget and finance people, our payroll, I'm sure you guys would get a lot of phone calls if people weren't getting paid, but these people are still doing their jobs and people are getting paid. So I really thank them for that. Our administrative supports and our clerical staff, they've been there making sure that a lot of paperwork is being done, well, even though people aren't out there. Our student supports with tutorial, DSS, People have been calling students and making sure that they're getting their counseling still. So we're still out there in the front line making sure. And one big shout out who is on this call is Stephen Ashby. So we still got IMC performing our duties, and they're here working tonight. So I want to give a shout out to Stephen Ashby, who's here, who set up this conference, is making sure that everybody could work here. One big group I really want to thank is Distance Ed. They've been a real a huge part of getting us from the classroom to online. So I really want to give a shout out to them and the work they've been doing. Also want to make sure for those who were not aware, tomorrow is National Administrative Professional Day. So if you haven't got out and got those flowers or any of those gifts, you still got time. We also wanted to make sure that we continue to meet with the staff weekly. We know that this is just a temporary closure, but we'll be doing that just to make sure that we could answer any questions or concerns that they may have, and make sure that we continue to work with the district on any MOUs that are outstanding or any concerns that we may have. We're addressing those. I really want to especially thank my executive board, who's been a great help to me during this time, who've been there with the staff on the front lines. I also want to thank Dr. Isak. He's been a great leader during this whole time. I don't know where that man finds time to sleep. He seems like he's always up. So if you call him, he's there. He's been making those phone calls back to me. If I got questions during these meetings, he makes sure he gets back to me. And the last person I really want to thank is Diana Torres for working closely with us. I really appreciate during this time. There's been a lot of things going on. So those are the things I really wanted to share. And I just hope everybody remains safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Segura. All right, moving on. We're almost to the end of our meeting. We have a couple of very serious and very worthy items. The first one under business from board members is the California Community College Trustee Board of Directors election. We have a ballot in front of us that all of you have received. There are actually 9 votes that we can put forward as one district. That's because there are those individuals. There's 12 nominees that are listed on the ballot that you see in front of you. And I'm going to ask Trustee Vakar, who is now the CCCT board representative for our district on the national board, to walk us through this and give us her input as to who she suggests that we vote for.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to share with members of our board the nominees that I would like to recommend. At this time, I think because of what is happening in our great state, and then most importantly, what's happening with education, I think now is a time for a steady leadership. And so I would like to recommend that we look at appointing back all of the current incumbents, and that would include Adrian Gray, Andra Hoffman, Pam Haynes, Marissa Perez, Larry Kennedy, Lauren Steck. And then I would like to make a recommendation for 2 others. And that would include Barry Snell from Santa Monica and Cindy Reese from Peralta. That still leaves one additional possibility if there's another recommendation from one of our colleagues. With that, though, I would recommend those 8.
All right. Any other comments or recommendations from the other board members? All right, hearing none. I will entertain a motion to approve of the 8 nominees listed by Trustee Vakar.
So move.
And I'll second that motion.
All right, Trustee Blumenthal moves and Trustee Vakar seconds. Any other questions and or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor and with a roll call vote, Trustee Alcala.
Aye.
Trustee Blumenthal.
Aye.
Trustee Hedrick.
Aye.
And Trustee Vakar.
Aye.
And I vote in favor also. So it's a unanimous vote for the 8 listed. Thank you very much. Now moving on, this is the point that we have been looking forward to, long awaited and very much worthy. And I would like to involve my colleagues in the assistance on presenting these resolutions that we have. The very first resolution, number 59-19/20, a commendation for Riverside Community College District Chancellor Woldab Isak for extraordinary leadership. And I would like to ask for Trustee Hedrick if he would please assist us in reading the resolution.
Yes, thank you. Whereas Dr. Woldab Isak began his post as Chancellor of the Riverside Community College District on January 1, 2018, and whereas Dr. Isak came to the Chancellor post with more than 35 years of experience as an educator, faculty member, and administrator, including experience as Dean of Health Science at Moreno Valley College, Vice President of Academic Affairs at Riverside City College, and Riverside City College's 11th president. And whereas Dr. Isak embraces collaboration through shared governance with district stakeholders and uses research-based evidence to support new initiatives. And whereas Dr. Isak demonstrated extraordinary leadership in working collaboratively with district stakeholders, in particular the 3 college presidents and the vice chancellors, to respond to the COVID-19 global pandemic in various ways. And whereas on March 11th, 2020, Dr. Isak announced various protocols to enact social distancing in order to maintain continuity of instruction for students and to maintain district operations. And whereas on March 12th and March 13th, 2020, Dr. Isak announced plans to transition district classes to online remote learning. And whereas on March 15th, 2020, Dr. Isak announced the ceasing of all non-essential functions in accordance with the Riverside County Public Health Officials' order to reduce the spread of COVID-19. And whereas throughout March, Dr. Isak led the transition of all district class instruction to online remote learning and provided faculty guidance on how to prepare for the transition, and also facilitated scheduled trainings and support sessions for faculty to be ready to competently and professionally conduct online remote instruction. And whereas the district has suspended all travel and events until further notice in order to abide by state and county health directives and to protect the safety of students, faculty, and staff. And whereas the district has constantly sent out information through a COVID-19 specific district website and various social media accounts regarding online remote learning, picking up free meals, access to counseling and tutoring services, access to free internet services, and guidance to protect oneself against COVID-19. And whereas Dr. Isak has worked tirelessly, meeting continuously, consistently, and at times endlessly from day to day with the 3 college presidents and the vice chancellors in order for the district to continue providing quality instruction to its students and to protect the safety of its students, faculty, and staff. And now here's the important stuff. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the governing board of trustees of the Riverside Community College District does hereby recognize, commend, and thank Dr. Woldab Isak for his extraordinary leadership as chancellor, generally, and specifically for his continued leadership during the COVID-19 pandemic, working collaboratively with district stakeholders to protect the interests of students, faculty, and staff, and doing so as he has done in all of his endeavors as chancellor, with integrity, honesty, fairness, sensitivity, wisdom, and a tireless work ethic. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Hedrick. Now, I will ask for a motion to move the resolution forward.
I move.
So
So, all right, so Trustee Hedrick moves, and is there a second?
I second.
And Trustee Blumenthal seconds. Questions and or comments from my board members?
well
Yes,
said.
I would agree with Trustee Vicar. This is an amazing resolution and doesn't come close to really explaining and describing what Dr. Isak has done for this district, for our faculty, for our employees, our students, and our board. He has been absolutely amazing.
Thank you, Trustee Blumenthal. We tried to capture everything we could. Trustee Vicar?
I would just like to echo those same sentiments. I think it's been an extraordinary time, but I think the endurance, and you got to remember, it was just less than 60 days ago, really, that we were just doing our election for our bond. And we moved right into this. It almost seems seamless. And yet the amount of work and the energy and the enthusiasm and strong support from everyone underneath Dr. Isak's leadership has just been truly endearing to what's most important, that's our students.
Thank you very much. Trustee Alcala?
Yeah, I concur with what's been stated. Yeah, this is only a snippet of what I'm sure has gone on behind the scenes, but again, I concur with my colleagues that the transition that we did to what we've done for students in such a short amount of time was phenomenal, and I'm glad that Chancellor Isak was there to lead it. So,
President Figueroa. Yeah, I just want to add that I understand when you're the leader at the top of an organization. It's kind of taking hits goes with the territory. But we are so fortunate to have Dr. Isak. I know all of us here have been involved in numerous public and private endeavors for decades. I have never seen anybody with one, this work ethic, and two, the number of hours, countless hours that he puts in. And I think easily we're talking about, especially during the campaign and now through this, 60, 80, 100 hour work weeks. And so I can't express enough how impressed I am with that. And I understand, I'm sure it's sometimes challenging to work for somebody that works 100 hours a week. I'm sure that has its own challenges, but this community, this district, and the board is so fortunate to have this level of leadership, integrity, honesty, fairness, sensitivity, wisdom, and tireless work that we benefit from. So again, thank you so much, Dr. Isak, for everything that you do for us.
Wait, thank you, Trustee Hedrick, and thank you to the rest of my colleagues. One of the things that I do want to indicate before we take the final vote is we can do these resolutions, and many times the resolutions end up sitting someplace and very few people actually end up getting to actually see it. And that is not the case that I feel is necessary right now. We need to make sure that the community sees this resolution and knows what has happened in this district over the last several weeks, because I fear that many of them do not know that. And so I think that I will make it my effort to work with our district staff in order to disseminate this resolution along with the other resolutions that we're going to talk about in a minute, because it's important that not only the RCCD community read it and know about it, but it's also important for the general community to also be aware of what is going on within the district, which is their community college. So with that in mind, I will now call for a vote, and a roll call vote, starting with Trustee Alcala.
Aye.
Trustee Blumenthal.
Definitely aye.
Trustee Hedrick.
Aye.
Trustee Vakar.
Aye.
And I also will be in favor and in approval. A unanimous vote. Thank you, Dr. Isak, for all that you do for the district. Very much appreciated. That was a standing ovation, just in case you didn't see it, Dr. Isak. All right, moving on. Item C, resolution number 60-1920. And this is affirming our unwavering commitment to student success and equity as we respond to and recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this resolution comes to us from the CCLC webinar series that we have been having every Thursday at 12 noon. The statewide trustees get together on a platform to discuss those issues that are affecting us right now at this time in reference to the pandemic. One of the items that was brought forward was this exact resolution request for each of us to consider at our local level. And the request is basically based on the fact that it has come to the attention of CCLC community colleges up and down the state that there has been an increase in the actual targeting of, unfortunately, the Asian population and other populations, namely both the African American and Latino populations within this pandemic, and they are suffering as a result of that. So I'm not going to read the entire resolution, but I do want to read this one factor that was the key factor for why we are wanting to bring this forward for us to consider voting on. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic is a destabilizing force that has resulted in a disproportionate impact on California's most vulnerable communities, which has contributed to a deterioration on the level of tolerance, civility, and equity in our society, as evidenced by an increase in racially motivated attacks on people of Asian descent and higher mortality rates from COVID-19 illness among African Americans and Latinx persons, which are precipitated by historical inequities in access to preventive and emergency medical care, economic opportunity, social mobility, and employment opportunities that allow some California residents to minimize their exposure and susceptibility to the virus. That pretty much says it all in that one paragraph. And what we are doing is we are taking a stand on moving forward by indicating, now therefore be it resolved, that we, the Riverside Community College District, hereby reform our commitment to remove barriers to diversity, equity, and inclusion in our communities by working collaboratively with our governing boards, the California Community College System, as well as local, state, and federal governments, business, and community-based organizations to provide resources to support our students in their academic programs through the provision of much needed resources in order to reduce the hardship imposed by COVID-19 pandemic. And then there is several be it resolved issues here, which are basically points that this district has been incredibly progressive in moving forward with: access to food pantries that include a variety of foods and clothing, emergency funds, access to internet connectivity. As you have heard earlier, there was a dissemination of laptops and computers to our students to ensure that they could continue to successfully continue with the online instruction. Access to academic counseling and access to mental health counseling. Two very important issues. You heard again how some of those appointments have been kept and how the numbers are in the hundreds as to those appointments and the individuals that are assisting our students. Any other such resources and support that the colleges may deem necessary to support student success and equity. And therefore, that is the resolution that we are looking at in affirming our unwavering commitment to student success and equity in response and to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is resolution number 60-19/20. And I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
So moved.
Mr. Alcala moves and Ms. Vakar seconds. Any questions and or comments from my fellow board members? All right, hearing none. All those in favor in a roll call vote: Mr. Alcala.
Aye.
Ms. Blumenthal.
Aye.
Mr. Hedrick.
Aye.
Ms. Vakar.
Aye.
And I also vote in approval. On a unanimous vote, that resolution moves forward. Thank you very much to my fellow board members. The last and not by any far means the least, the third resolution, number 61-19/20, recognizing district faculty, classified professionals, and administrators in the midst of coronavirus COVID-19 crisis. And I will ask on this one for Trustee Vakar to please assist me with the reading of that resolution.
Thank you. It is my pleasure on behalf of all of us on the board to read this resolution to all of our employees of our district, and to be able to share with our entire community the important role that they've played. Whereas along with the rest of the country and the world, Riverside Community College District employees have been impacted by the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, including disruption of their lives, both at work and at home. And whereas, as one of Riverside County's largest employers, the district took quick action to close all campus facilities and campuses, and with the transition to online instruction and remote operations seamlessly, and whereas district faculty, classified professionals, and administrators recognize their important role in helping to identify solutions and stop the spread of virus through social distancing, multimedia communications, and other safe health practices. And whereas the district employees continue to be deeply committed to our students by prioritizing their academic success, safety, welfare, and future. And whereas the faculty members at Moreno Valley, Norco, and Riverside City colleges and continuing education rapidly converted thousands of courses to alternative modes of instruction to ensure students can continue their studies and make academic progress towards their educational goals in spite of an unprecedented worldwide pandemic. And whereas the district employees reacted swiftly to ensure that in spite of a closure of all district campuses and facilities, essential student services such as counseling, tutoring, and information on student loans and grants are continued, and that students have the support they need to transition to online and other remote formats, including low-income students and other traditionally unrepresented students who could be impacted disproportionately. And whereas, in spite of the crisis, the Riverside Community College District continues to work closely with federal, state, county, cities, and community partners, such as our Riverside Community College Foundation Board and others, to ensure basic needs are met. Now be it resolved that the Riverside Community College District Board of Trustees officially acknowledges the many outstanding contributions of its faculty, our classified professionals, administrators, and community support systems in response to the coronavirus COVID-19 crisis. And may it be further resolved that the Riverside Community College District Board of Trustees truly thanks all who have attested and assisted to the effective handling of the COVID-19 crisis to ensure the health and safety of the district community, as well as the continuity of the district's mission in support of the Inland Empire communities. With that, I would like to make a motion that we approve this resolution.
I second that motion.
It has been moved by Trustee Vakar, and it has been seconded by Trustee Blumenthal. Questions and/or comments?
I have a comment.
Yes, Trustee Hedrick?
Yes. This really is in the spirit of the evening, but I think as we move week by week through the present difficulties, it becomes apparent that the faculty, the staff, the administrators, this district, that they really are the core of the district in serving our students, have done an exceptional job. And I won't be terribly redundant, but I don't think we can say thank you enough on behalf of the communities as the board of trustees representing the citizens of our district. So I know we all thank you enormously for the way above and beyond that you have gone to try to maintain our core mission of equity, access, and student success.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Yes, I'm going to have a couple of my closing comments.
Yes, Trustee Blumenthal.
Thank you. I think this is so appropriate. I am so proud to be a part of this district with what our district, and this includes every level of participant in our district, and what they have done during this time of crisis and pulled together. I'm just so proud of our faculty, of our support staff, CSCA, and so on. It's absolutely amazing.
Thank you, Trustee Blumenthal. All right, hearing no other questions or comments, let me make my comment before we take the final vote. These resolutions are obviously most appropriate, and as other trustees have indicated, we can never do it enough. And we probably should do it probably just about every month in order to acknowledge all the hard work that is going on in order to keep this district moving forward for our students. If it were possible for me to do this, and it's not, because we're not a private corporation, but in a private corporation, a moment like this for staff and administrators and a leadership that has been able to accomplish what they've accomplished would each be receiving a substantial bonus, and very possibly a trip to some unbelievable location once all of the travel and pandemic issues lift themselves, in order to give everybody a
First.
vacation and a rest away from everything that we have gone through. But not being a private corporation, we're not able to do that. We cannot end up giving taxpayer money. It's a gift of taxpayer funds. What we can do is acknowledge their hard work, their commitment, and their high ethics of professionalism for which they have given the highest reputation that this district held in the state and in the nation. And in the nation, this district is held at a high status in the nation. And it is because of these individuals whom we are acknowledging here tonight. So with that in mind, I will now go into a roll call vote of approval for this resolution. And again, I plan on making sure that this resolution also is taken out into the community so that the community understands the hard work that our staff and administrators have done for this district. On a roll call vote, Trustee Alcala in favor of approval.
Aye.
Mr. Hedrick,
Aye.
Ms. Blumenthal,
Aye.
Ms. Vakar,
Aye.
and I also vote in favor of approval. And so the resolution moves forward unanimously, and we thank you. From the bottom of our heart, we absolutely do thank you. The very last item is the update from members of the Board of Trustees. So business from the board. Let's begin alphabetically. Mr. Alcala.
All right. I just quickly, again, in keeping with President Anderson's message of gratitude, I want to thank everybody at the district and all the colleges for everything that they've done over this crazy month. I mean, what the college did in a week, all the colleges did in a week to get ready was phenomenal. As you all know, as a teacher in Moreno Valley, you know, the time that it's taken us to get stuff together, to see what happened, it's made me proud to be, even more proud to be a trustee. And so again, I can't thank you all enough. You know, I look forward to the day where I could see you all again, and again, be able to thank you face to face. Next thing I want to just continue to ask. I know nobody at the district needs this, but to continue to ask to find ways to help our DACA students out, and those students of great need that have been excluded through all of the CARES Act pieces. Again, those are the students, you know, that tend to be forgotten, and so we know they're out there, and I know that our district, especially with, we just affirmed our commitment to student success, and I think that is part of it, is to help find ways to help those students of greatest need. The next thing is, I just want to address, I guess I hope folks don't take my concern to be like a judgy thing, but I'm just concerned with, so when all this went down with education, we are to hold students harmless. So I guess I'm struggling with the idea of why we're struggling with these emergency withdrawals, you know, pass fail. I mean, for us in K-12, it's basically, look, students are held harmless. And that was a clear message from the Department of Ed, that we are to hold students harmless. And maybe I missed something, and maybe somebody can call me offline or whatever, but I just want that commitment to student success also, I believe, includes holding students harmless who may have to or need to withdraw. And so I just wanted to put that out there. Next, I want to thank Megan Bottoms, the coordinator for student activities, and what ASRCC has been doing with our students on their Instagram live chats. I participated in one, and it was phenomenal to talk to students in a different platform, in a different setting, and what they are putting out to the students, at least for RCC, because that's the group that I saw was going live. And so I've just kind of been checking in to see what students' concerns are and how they're addressing it. It's just another way that I see and feel that our colleges are meeting our students and the needs that they have. So again, I just want to thank her for what they're doing for students and all the folks in student services there at RCC. And then last but not least, if I wasn't making a plug for one of our different things in the college, I just want to again remind folks, if they go to our rccd.edu district page, right at the top, you'll see the COVID-19 link. And when you click on it, it takes you to a lot of resources. I made sure I highlighted that when I did the Instagram live chat, and specifically to students, all of the updates, they're posted there. As soon as they go out, they get posted there. And so it's just another resource I want to make sure students and faculty and everybody knows. Hopefully they're taking advantage of them, but again, I just want to direct people to that at the rccd.edu webpage, and then the link right at the top. It's in bright red, and it takes you right to the resources. So with that, stay safe, take care. I'm missing you all face to face, but I know that when we do get to see each other once again, it's going to be one of those like a great family reunion. So I love you all, and I love being part of this district as a trustee. That's it, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Alcala. Trustee Blumenthal.
Thank you very much. I know I've said several things tonight. I am too going to adopt Dr. Anderson's comments about gratefulness. I am very, very grateful to this district. The collaboration that has been displayed between the chancellor, the administration, the faculty, CSCA, and the students is almost undescribable. The amount of accomplishments from going to classroom to online, I really didn't think could be done in that kind of a time period. Not only was it done, but the way the faculty supported other faculty in the teaching and becoming certified is just nothing less than impressive. Even our student trustee, Jorge Zavala, I want to compliment you for what you have undertaken during this time to help your fellow students out and to try to set forth ways in which we can communicate. Aaron Brown, Rebecca Goldberg, you guys have been absolutely amazing during this time. And I don't think you're given nearly enough credit for the amount of energy that you have expended, the things that you have done to be sure that are transferring, to be sure that this time of crisis has minimized the amount of failures. I know personally some small things that you have done that are not really small, but no one else thought of them but you, and I want to give you kudos for that. Dr. Green, Dr. Steinbach, Dr. Anderson, you've been presenting major leadership during this time. Gustavo, you've always been there. You've always been a rock. You've always been organizing everybody. You have always helped to make this district run correctly, and you have done it again. I cannot tell you how much I admire you and how proud I am of what you have done for our district. Watching the students during this time. For example, our music department, I posted on my Facebook, the jazz ensemble and how they were singing from, playing their instruments from all the various squares. And they were absolutely incredible. This is what we're also teaching our students. When you take a look at our model UN and what they're doing during this time, we could go on and on and on. Dr. Isak, I don't know of a better leader that I have seen in my life to go through a disaster than what you have displayed in this district. No, you can't do it on your own, but it takes leadership to help pull everybody together to help with that collaboration that we have all firsthand witnessed. And I'm very grateful to you and every single member of our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Blumenthal. Trustee Hedrick.
Yes, I would just say that I agree 100% with my colleagues. I'd like to tell you that I was at Good Morning Corona and that I had a chance to visit the Career and Technical Ed program, that the Norco Chamber Luncheon was terrific, but all of those would be lies. And haven't been able to do any of those. But I really am, as my colleague said, grateful for the wonderful work of our district. And I think I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Vakar.
Yes, thank you so much for just a few minutes to be able just to share with our community just how important their role has been in helping to make this transition happening. I gotta say, the last 6 weeks has just been an absolute amazing experience, both professionally and then to witness what happens and some of the creativity that's come along with it and the great ideas that have come forward. It just shows how resilient we are and how we can adapt to change as humans. And most importantly, to be able to reach out to those that might be struggling and help them get through this tough time in a way that just says that you're still there. And I am online, it seems like all day long, in front of my screen and doing all kinds of Zoom meetings, team meetings. And I gotta say, I'm actually watching some great work get done. And in some ways, I think even more work is getting done because we've been able to collaborate. And I think just the willingness to be able to overcome this challenge and do it in a professional way and actually in a very pleasant demeanor type of a way has really been apparent to me in all the interactions I've been having with folks over the last few weeks. And watching the communications and what's been happening in our own college district, honestly, absolutely amazing. And we can't thank you enough. Those resolutions are truly just a small sentiment of really, I think where our gratitude comes from all of us. We would just love to be able to express to you. And I thought President Figueroa said it so eloquently. If we were in a private sector, there would be bonuses out there. We realize maybe not a cruise right now, although I saw Dr. Isak a little excited when I heard maybe a nice little vacation might be around the corner. I saw a big smile on his face. But you know, you have to just kind of visualize that in your morning ritual. I think when you're meditating in the morning and think about those vacations that you loved from the past and just kind of, you know, think upon those moments. But I do want to really just thank everybody for your courage, for your thoughtfulness, and for your dedication to just making this happen in such a great professional way. So much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Vakar, so much. There is probably very little that I can add that my colleagues have not already covered as we close out our meeting here tonight. There is one point that I do want to make, and it's in light of the comments that we just had in reference to the vacations. One of the things that I want to highlight and point out, all of the hard work that everybody has done. Our faculty did something that was extraordinary. Other districts have heard about it and have asked, how did you ever manage to have the faculty agree to do that? But they basically gave up their spring break. And in order for our students to continue on the timeline that is set, that was accomplished. And that is not to be taken lightly. It's not something that has been overlooked. So Rhonda Taub, I would like for you to make sure that you take back to your faculty membership the extreme thanks that this district has for their unwavering commitment and their sacrifice of their time, especially their vacation. And if it was possible, as Tracy Vakar just indicated to you, Trustee Vakar definitely made the comment that I said, if we were a private corporation, I would definitely end up saying, let's give them all a bonus. And then let's have a raffle and get a whole bunch of them on a vacation. And yeah, I wouldn't go for a cruise either, but let's get them on a vacation on some location where they can relax and enjoy some time. Because this has been a lot of hard work, and unfortunately, we're not done with it yet. We still have quite a bit to look forward to of unstabilized chaos, I would say. But again, we are doing a phenomenal job, and it's because of the leadership, Dr. Isaac, gracias, and the presidents and the vice chancellors and all of the administrators, and definitely all of the support staff, classified and otherwise, that are part of this district. You make this board proud to be at the helm of the governing of it, and you make it easy for us because of the hard work that you do. So taking that into consideration and knowing that none of us have been out and about other than to be on these meetings here. At this time, there being no further business, I will go ahead and call this meeting. There is no closed session. So as of right now, this meeting is adjourned, and I thank you all very much for joining in. Good night.
Night.
Right.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Everybody, thank you.
Good night.